Hello everyone, very good afternoon and welcome to all of you. Now, I would like to start the discussion for the today's topic. Hope my screen is clearly visible with you all guys. So, we have planned to conduct the webinar for today under the topic of From Theory to Practice STAD RCDC column design for engineers at every level. So, very first thing we have to understand what is the objective of uh, planning to conduct the webinar under this topic, because we are handling many social media platforms and continuously we are conducting the trainings for the beginners, for the uh, intermediate level, those who are actually starting their career in the field of structural design, and some of the practicing structural engineer, those who are having few year of experience. So they are having lot of queries, there are lot of questions in respect of design of the column elements. And the most important component part of your entire structure is your column, as you all know very well. So people are having lots of questions, lots of doubts, lots of problems in respect of the design of the columns, whether it is short column, long column, okay, axially loaded, biaxial loaded, whatever the type of the column is there, the people are more conscious to know how to design it in different critical situation. First thing. Second thing, the people, those who are using the STAD RCDC software, so they are also more conscious how to design the STAD RCDC software, because when we are taking this RCDC software in implementation for our proposed project of for our real example project, so we are not getting the result as per our expectation. So by keeping all these things, all these doubts, all these problems for our community, we are planning to conduct this topic. We are planning to discuss in general with all our audience on this special topic. So this is the objective of conducting today's webinar. And second thing, in this webinar, the next topic we are going to talk about the problem definition for our proposed structure. And secondly, we are actually going to talk about the manual approach for the design of the column. The third part in this program, we are in this webinar, we are going to take as about the manual design of the columns, because unless you are not understanding the concept of manual design of the column, you cannot understand the software, because your software algorithm is based on your conceptual approach, your mathematical approach. So unless you are not clear well about your manual approach, you will not understand the software. So to come at the software, the first step is to understand the manual approach with a conceptual approach. So I know very well many of you have done the design of the column element at your academic time, or even in while practicing, but the people are, most of the people are not well aware about all the terms, about all the important terms related for the design of the column. What I am talking about, I will discuss it later. So the people are not well aware for the design of the particular professionally and practically the manual design of the column. I'm not talking about your academic approach for the design of the column, just to take the marks, just to pass your pass your subject. I'm not talking about that. Now, in the fourth part of this webinar, we are going to talk about the design approach with your STAD RCDC, and finally the main thing, we are going to talk about the comparative approach for the design of the column by manual as well as STAD RCDC, and we are trying to find out why we are not getting our result as per our expectation when we are approaching for the design of the column using STAD RCDC. And my dear friend, at the last of in the last of this webinar, we are going to announce some important thing which will you that will be very good for you all. Okay, so this is what overall um, outline how we are going to proceed for today's topic. Okay, so now finally I'm going to start. So very first, Actually, for the designing of any element, we need to have the analysis value. Like if suppose you are going to talk about the beam, column, slab, foundation, shear wall, whatever the element you are going to talk about, and it's a design, you need to have the analysis reports, you need to have the analysis values as bending moment, shear force, and for that especially you are going to design your element. So as of now, we are going to take the help of the primary software. Why I'm going to call it as primary software? Because for the purpose of modeling analysis, we need to take the any particular software. So here I'm going to take the help of the ETABS software to have our model, to have our analysis results. So as of now, what we are going to do, we are going to model our structure in the ETABS software. So what material property we have considered for the proposed structure? As M30 grade of concrete and Fe500 grade of steel. Okay, and there is a column of size 300 by 600 we have taken for our study. Beam size we have taken as 230 by 500, and slab thickness has taken as 130 in mm. I have taken a sample projector, okay, where we have taken the size of the column as 300 by 600, beam, all the beam having the size of 230 by 500, all the columns having this, all the slabs are having the size of 130 mm. At all the floors the dead load were considered as 1.6. Dead load means the floor finish load were considered over all the slabs as 1.6, and live load for all the floors were considered as 2 kilonewton at all the floor except of the terrace, as our IS 875 part 2 has recommended to consider the live load at the terrace level as 1.5. That's we have considered as 1.5. So it is what load definition, it is what material definition, it is what sectional definition. And finally the wall load to all the beams were assigned as 10.5 at a height of 4 meter. Okay, at this height for 10.5 meter, and wall load at all typical floors as 7.5. Wall load at the terrace level has been assigned as 3.6. Over height definitions are actually given here. Base were considered at 0 level, ground were considered as 2.5 meter, and your first floor is taken as at a height of 4 meter. Rest of all the floors are having the height of 3.3 meter, right? So it is what the definition of your proposed project, proposed model, and that model we are going to create in our ETABS software. Now after having this, we are going to perform the analysis, and after the analysis we are getting our analysis results. As you can find here, okay, after performing of the analysis we are getting the analysis results. So for a proposed column, which column we are going to take for our study? There are many columns are actually present. So as of now, which column we are going to take for proposed study? So we are going to focus on the floor number 3. This is the floor number 3, and column number 6 we are going to take for our proposed study. We are going to take one column for our study. So it is the floor number 3 and column number 6. So for this we are going to proceed here. Okay, so it is the story number 3. It is the story number 3 and column number 6. Story number 3, column number 6. And one more clarification I would like to give here, my dear friend, for this study, to make as easy and simple for you all guys to understand, we are going to consider only the gravitational load. We are going to consider only what? Gravitational load. As you can find here, I have not discussed about any lateral load. Only we are going to talk about the gravitational load to make the study as simple and easy. Second, we are going to consider the frame as ordinary frame or ordinary detailing. We are not going to consider the ductile detailing. The second important thing. These two things just keep in your mind. Okay. Now, here for the proposed floor, for the proposed column, we found the axial load to the column as 2747 9986 2000 747 almost, and movement about minor axis is what 5.3038, movement about major axis as 11.4382. That I have shown here also. This is our proposed column, and the loading in respect of the axial load is 2747, and movement about the major axis, just focus on this, movement about the major axis was 11.4382 kilonewton meter, and movement about the minor axis 5.3038. This is what the analysis value for the axial load, and this movement about one axis, movement about the other axis. Hope you all understood. Now one important things I am repeating again and again, movement about major axis, movement about the minor axis. So people are actually sometimes confused about what does mean by the major axis, what does mean by the minor axis. So my dear friend, throughout the study we have to talk many times about the major axis, about the minor axis, about the major axis, about the minor axis. So I plan to first clear out what does mean by the major axis, what does mean by the minor axis, so that the study will become easy to understand. So just follow me. Okay, so have a look over this. What does mean by the major axis, what does mean by the minor axis. So our column having the size of 300 as the width and 600 as a depth, 300 as a width and 600 as a depth. So why I am going to call which this x axis I am going to call it as major axis, and this y I am going to call it as minor axis. Why I am going to call it as major and minor as x and y? Because it depends on your movement, depends on your stiffness about that particular axis, and the stiffness of the column that is we are representing as k is directly proportional to your moment of inertia, is directly proportional to your moment of inertia. If about that particular axis, if your moment of inertia is more, then your stiffness will be more. If in that particular direction, if your moment of stiffness is what, if your moment of inertia is less, at that time your stiffness will be less. So to have the stiffness as more, we need to have more moment of inertia. And about these two axes, amongst which axis, if we are getting the more moment of inertia, that we are going to call it as major axis, and about the other axis, if we are getting the less moment of inertia, we are going to call it as minor axis. Okay, so here try to understand moment of inertia, as you all will very well aware that the formula is bd cube by 12. So ixx, firstly I am going to consider by this x. So this is going to become width, so 300, and depth is this one, about this axis, that resisting depth is this one. So d cube divided by 12, so 300 multiplied by 600 cube divided by 12, we are getting the moment of inertia as 5400 into 10 raised to 6 mm raised to 4. So basically what we are getting, moment of inertia is 5400 into 10 raised to 6. Likewise I am going to do the calculation for the moment of inertia about the y axis. So for this y, this is going to become width, this depth is going to become width, so that's why I am going to put it here as d, and this width is going to become depth, so b cube. After doing this calculation, we are getting the 1350 into 10 raised to 6 mm raised to 4. Now my dear friend, you can decide that which axis will be major axis, which axis will be your minor axis. So you all will agree to say that your x axis is the major axis and your y axis is your minor axis. So my dear friend, I plan to cover resolve this doubt first, that what does mean by the major axis, what does mean by the minor axis, and why we are going to call it as major and minor. Hope you all understood. Now next, my dear friend, okay, so finally I am going to start the calculation for the your column design. So as we have we got the analysis value for the proposed column as 2747.999 moment about the major axis. Okay, actually 3 you can represent, or you can represent by xx. Okay, both are okay, fine. And this is 2 means yy. Okay, so basically moment about major axis as 11.438, moment about minor axis as 5.304. Hope it's clear to all of you. Now column size has given as 300 by 600, beam size has given as 230 by 500, and floor to floor height we have given as 3.3 meter. Now unsupported length of the column, because we would like to calculate the minimum eccentricity, for which our IS 456 has asked to design our all the column by considering the minimum eccentricity. Okay, so see, it is given on your IS 456 2000 page number 42. Now unsupported length we have given it as how you can calculate unsupported length and why we are going to calculate it, because to calculate the minimum eccentricity, IS code asks to consider the unsupported length of your column, and this is the floor to floor height of your column. So my dear friend, when you are going to deal any real example project, so from one floor to another floor, this is your total height of the column, but it is not the unsupported length of your column. To find the unsupported length of your column, you have to subtract it from your depth of the beam. So here 3.3 minus depth of the beam as 0.5, we are getting the unsupported length of your column as 2.8 meter. 2.8 meter. Now finally I can use this formula to find out the moment of to find out the eccentricity. Okay, so eccentricity about major axis, that is your x-axis, L unsupported length divided by 500 plus overall depth divided by 30. If you are going to put all the values here, you are getting the eccentricity about major axis as 25.6 in mm. Eccentricity about minor axis we are getting it as 15.6 in mm. But here the important point you have to note, all the eccentricity were calculated subjected to a minimum of 20 mm. So you are limited to consider the minimum eccentricity as 20 mm. If you are after the calculation, if you are getting the value less than of 20, so you have to consider at least of 20 mm. So here after doing the calculation, we are getting the value more than of 20, so that's fine and good. But here we are getting the back calculation as the eccentricity less than of 15. So that's why my dear friend, we are going to consider as see, moment due to eccentricity. So formula for moment will equal to, due to eccentricity will equal to your axial force multiplied by eccentricity about that particular axis. So moment about, ultimate moment about x due to eccentricity, axial load 2747,999 multiplied by uh, eccentricity 25.6, as it is in mm we have to convert in meter, so that is what multiplied by 10 raised to minus 3. Finally we are getting the moment as 70.348 kilonewton meter. Now second, moment due to eccentricity about the minor axis, that is y. Again doing the calculation, we are getting this moment due to eccentricity as 54.959, and here about the major axis as 70.348. Hope you all guys understood this calculation for calculating the moment of about moment due to eccentricity. Okay, now next point, try to understand. Okay, the important thing is that to proceed for the further calculation for your column element, we need to decide whether our column is short column or long column. Unless you are not deciding whether your short column and long column, you cannot proceed further. So here, as if you are going to follow our IS 456 2000, okay, uh, clause number 25 compression member, okay, there they have discussed that to decide the short column and long column, you have to check the ratio of effective length divided by either your width or depth. By any of the direction, if you are getting the ratio as more than of 12, at that time you have to call it as what? Long column. If you are getting the value less than of 12, your column is going to be converted into the short column. And my dear friend, as you know, if the column is coming as short column, so that is not a problem. But if your column is resulting into the long column, then the challenges are what arising. So we will discuss whether our column is going to become long column and short column. We will see. Now actually the important thing you can find from here as the formula to decide whether the ratio is less than or greater than of 12 is what? L E X or L E Y. So what does mean by the LEX and LEY? So it is the effective length of your column about the major axis, about the minor axis. It is what? Effective length. It is not the general length. And my dear friend, to calculate the effective length, the formula is what? K multiplied by your unsupported length. And what does mean by unsupported length? I think now it is not needed to discuss, because already we have discussed what does mean by the unsupported length. So we are having our unsupported length is what? 2800. Just now we have seen. Now what does mean by this K? And my dear friend, I would like to have your concentration here. This is the most important term, that is deciding the overall design of your column. And this is only the term which is going to add the complication in your design. This is only the term which is actually somehow critical or critical to find out. And this is only the term, that's why the people are not getting their result as per expectation. And this is only the term which is actually deciding the design of the column in any of the software. So if you are getting the concept of this K, means you are getting the concept of overall design of your column. So I would like to have your concentration for this K, right? So as of now, firstly I would like to clarify what does mean by the sway frame and what does mean by the non-sway frame. Okay, why it is needed to discuss? Just see, actually if you are going to see IS 456 2000 annexure E, this is what discussing about how you can calculate the effective length of the column. Okay, so in your academic time, hopefully you all have gone through this table to find out the effective length of your column. So some of you are using this formula, some of you are using this formula, some of you are using this formula. So for general approach, for the not much important project, okay, and for not a real project, if you are going to adopt the values were suggested by this table number 28, that's fine. But my dear friend, if you would like to do the calculation for your specific problem, for your specific project, and if you are going to use this table, then you will be wrong. You will be what? Wrong. I am not going to tell this. Okay, it is actually given in your code itself. If you are going to read this note, see what they have recommended. See, for the normal usage, here what they have said, for the normal usage, assuming the idealized conditions as both end fixed, both end hinged, one end is fixed, one end is hinged. Okay, for normal usage, assuming idealized condition, the effective length of a given in a given plane may be assessed on the basis of table number 28. So in a general cases, in a normal usage, if you are going to follow this table to find out your effective length as the theoretical value, so that is what fine. But if you are planning for real projects, so it is not correct approach to consider your effective length. Now my dear friend, if you are going to do the calculation for your specific problem, so IS 456 Annexure E clause number 25.2 has recommended to follow this description or this approach for finding out your effective length of your column. Now, if you are going to study about this annexure A, so you will come to these two graphs, two charts, and these charts will actually give you the effective length ratio, or that effective length ratio is nothing but your effective length factor as K. This factor is what? The ratio of your effective length divided by your total actual length, unsupported length. So this is what the effective length factor. So these charts we have to use. Now if you are going to use this chart, okay fine, but when you come to this you will have two charts. One chart is as the figure number 26 and figure number 27. Now why these two charts has given? The code should only give one chart for the same thing calculation. Actually this is going to be differentiated due to the type of the frame. Due to the type of the frame, the first chart is what? With a no sway, means it is for restrained frame. It is for what? No sway condition. And if you are going to see second chart, it is for without restraint against sway, means it is allowing for the sway. So these two charts are actually for, one chart is for sway condition and one chart is for the non-sway condition, means it is restrained to deformation. Now again, now this is the point to understand what does mean by the sway frame, what does mean by the non-sway frame. So have a look over this for the better understanding. Okay, see, it's request with you all guys, kindly keep your mic on mute condition, please don't disturb. Okay, sway frame. So it is what? The normal frame, and this is our the frame with no sway. As you can find here, under the application of the loading, under the application of the loading, the response of the structure is what? Showing only in the gravitational direction and in its plane. Horizontal elements are what? Responding in a gravitational direction, as the beam and slabs are going to be deformed in the gravitational direction only, and the vertical elements as the column and shear wall, whatever is there, it is going to be respond in its plane. It is not going to shift its plane. So it is the case of non-sway condition, means it is not going to be deflected in lateral direction. Try to understand. Under the application of the loading and while responding to the applied load, your frame is not going to be displaced from its actual positioning. It is going to be deformed in the gravitational direction for the horizontal elements, and the vertical elements are not moving from its original plane. And with frame without restraint against sway, there is no any restraint, means it is what? Allowing the deformation in lateral direction. So under the application of the loading, your frame is what? Going to be displaced from its actual positioning, and is what? Going to be shifted from its actual frame position. So it is what? It is the sway type. It is what? It is displaced, it means it is the sway frame, and it is not going to be displaced, it is the non-sway frame. So when you are going to do the calculation for the effective length ratio or effective length factor, while to decide which chart has to use, you have to decide what type of frame you are going to consider. Either you are going to consider sway frame, either you are going to consider non-sway frame. Now you may raise a question, sir, what is the problem if you are going to choose the sway frame? What is the problem when we are going to choose the non-sway frame? So actually the type of the frame is going to decide the calculation of, sorry, start and end limit of your effective length factor. Start and end limit of your effective length factor. Okay, very important, try to understand. If you are going to see here, as the column is going to be what, not going to, the column is not going to change its position in its plane, only it is going to be what, displaced. So there is no chance of the extension of the length of this column. There is no any of this column you can find. So it is in its position, it is going to be displaced. In its position it is going to be displaced. We are going to call it as single nature of the curvature, single plane curvature, single surface curvature. Okay, in case of the no sway, in case of the restrained one. Okay, so what single curvature of the displacement will be there? So my dear friend, here it is what, there is no chance of the extension of the length. Here there is no chance of the extension of the length. But if I am asking to do the calculation for this sway case, so this is the column initially, and after the displacement, as you can find, it is what, displaced like this. So this is what the displaced. So obviously by the trigonometry you all will say that this diagonal will have the more span in comparison of this and this. So in case of this sway, there is a chance of the extension. There is a chance of what, extension in the length of your column. But in case of the no sway, there is no chance of the extension in the length of your column. And my dear friend, if your column is what, with no sway, and means there is no chance of the extension of your column, your effective length factor value will always be less than of 1. Effective length factor will always be less than of 1 when there is a no sway, and when no sway is there, there is no chance of the extension of the length. So when you come to this table again, see, for the no sway, as you can see, the maximum value of the effective length factor will be what, as 1. Your value will never come for the case of the non-sway condition. You will never get the effective length factor more than of 1, because there is no chance of the extension in the length of your column. Hope that is clear to all of you. Now, but when you come to see the other frame, which is your sway frame, so you cannot expect to what extent it is going to be deflect and what extent this extension will be. You cannot predict that. That's why this height, what this length will going to be increase small or more, that we cannot predict. That's why your k value will always, actually see, minimum it will be at its actual length, and more than of that it can increase to a greater length. So now when you are going to consider the when you are going to consider sway, so your sway value will starting from 1 and can go to the infinite value. And my dear friend, as you know that due to this k factor, your column is going to be decided as short column and long column. So as we have seen, to decide the short column and long column, what to do, unsupported length, effective length we have to calculate, divided by either b, you can say, or either d. Okay, about both of the axes we have to check. If this value is coming out to be more than of 12, it is the long column. If it is coming out to be less than of 12, it is the short column, right? So as this effective length factor, effective length as equal to what, k into your unsupported length divided by b, or your overall depth as d. B or overall depth of d means of overall depth of your column. So see, if your effective length factor is more than of 1, obviously there is a chance to become this column as what, this ratio is going to become as 12, your column become long. If the k value is coming out to be less, then your column, there is a more chance of more chance of becoming the short column. No doubt, this calculation is also depends on the unsupported length also, no doubt. But as of now, we are not taking this L to a greater importance. We are giving the importance to the k first. Okay, so the k value is actually deciding the whether the column is going to become long column and short column. So hope you all guys understood the meaning of sway, the meaning of non-sway. Okay, the meaning of sway, the meaning of non-sway, and importance of the effective length factor, unsupported length, everything is now clear. Now I can go for the next step. So when you are going to see the your IS code, when you are going to see your IS code, so how you can calculate where your see how you can calculate effective length factor. So effective length factor, we have decided to use any of this chart. Okay, so which frame we are going to choose, I am not going to disclose as of now. Here we are not going to see that. See, when you are going to find out the effective length factor, we need to have the two things. One is beta 1 and one is your beta 2. One is your beta 1 and one is your beta 2, and the formula for calculating the beta 1 and beta 2 is given here as the ratio of stiffness of the column divided by stiffness of the addition of stiffness of the column and stiffness of the beam. So basically, overall, for calculating the beta 1 and beta 2, we need to know the stiffness of the column and stiffness of the beam. Now what does mean this beta 1 and beta 2? Basically, beta 1 is the stiffness of the column at its top and the stiffness of the column at its bottom, as stiffness of the at its top and stiffness at the bottom. So here, as we are going to consider the same size of the column from base to top, the size is not going to be changed as 230 by 300. Continue from base to top. First thing, the beams which is going to be connecting to the one point, it is also not going to be changed. The sizes from all of its direction is what, 230 by 500. As you can find, I would like to show you our proposed frame. So you can see here, we are going to consider this particular column. So this column is having the connectivity with this direction, connectivity with this direction, connectivity with this direction, connectivity with this direction. So from all of the direction, beam is going to be connected with your column, and the size of the column from base to top, size of the column is same, and beam which is going to be connecting with your column is also having the same size as 230 by 500. Okay, so that's why just focus to this case. Here it is what, beam is connecting to this. So actually the beta 1 on the top and beta 2 at the bottom, I can say that for this particular proposed column, I can say that I can take both as B1 and B2 as same. My dear friend, if the column sizes are going to be changed, beam sizes are going to be changed. Okay, for an example, at this point the beam coming from only two directions, okay, on that direction and this direction, no beams are present here, then beta 1 beta 2 you cannot take as same. Okay, only from three direction the beam is coming, and the bottom of four directions are beams are connecting to the column. At that time also you cannot take B1 and B2 as same. But for our proposed structure, we have considered the beam which is going to be connecting to this column from all of the four direction. Beam at this joint is going to be connected from all of the four direction, and the column is having the same size from base to top. So we are going to say our beta 1 for this particular column at its top, for this same particular column beta 2 as its base, as we are going to say as what, equal. So that makes our study as simple and easy. Okay, so hope it's clear to all of you. Just coming back, so this is the formula as you know, it is given in our IS code. So moment of sorry, stiffness of your column, summation of the stiffness of your column to that particular joint. Okay, now very interesting, one thing I missed to cover here. When you are going to see this particular joint, when you are going to see this particular joint, so one column is coming from above, one column is coming from the bottom, so two columns are going to be connected at this joint. When you are going to talk about this joint, one column is coming from top, one column is coming from bottom, beams, two columns are what connecting to each other. But when you are going to talk about the beam, so in this direction two beams, one beam is coming from this direction, one beam is coming from this direction. So it is what I am going to say, in one direction two beams, in another direction two beams. So remember this thing, okay, it will be having the important for the further calculation. Okay, so moment summation of the stiffness of the column at a particular joint. Okay, so two column from one above, from one below. For the column again the same thing. For the beam, in one direction two beams are coming for the column, right? For the column one beam is from this direction, one beam from this direction. So this is what actually given, as you can see here, flexural. Okay, done. Now this is the formula. So I am going to do the calculation as of now for the stiffness. So stiffness of the column we need to have stiffness, summation of the stiffness of the column. Stiffness formula is what? BD cube by 12, BD cube by 12 divided by as length of the column. What is the basic formula for calculating the stiffness? Stiffness will equal to EI by L. You will say that, sir, all thing is okay, but in our problem there is no E. There is what? No E. So why I am going to eliminate E? Because in our formula, as you can see, stiffness on the top also there, stiffness on the bottom also there. So a numerator and denominator. So we are taking E outside from both, that is going to be cancelled. Okay, because the property model of elasticity for concrete for your column and for your beam will be same, because it is going to become of a concrete element. Okay, fine. Next, okay, here it is what? See, so I by L, basically formula is going to become as I by L. So I, moment of inertia of your column about the major axis, BD cube by 12 divided by length of the column as 3.3 overall length. And why two factor is coming? I have explained that actually two columns are coming, one from bottom, one from top, for that particular joint. So two columns, so 2 is going to be multiplied here. After doing this calculation, we are getting the value of 3.273 and for it's who's there, please keep your mic on mute condition. Okay, for minor axis, about the axis 2 2, or you can call it as YY. Okay, YY or XX, both are okay, same. Okay, XX you can say, or 3 3 you can say, YY or 2 2 you can say. Now see, minor axis, about the minor axis, it is what? BD cube by 12 as LC, as two columns are there from one and top and bottom for that particular proposed joint. So it is going to become 8.182 into 10 raised to minus 4, remember. And then now try to understand stiffness, beam stiffness. So actually in your IS 456 2000, it is not describing anywhere to do the calculation for the stiffness of your beam. Again I am repeating, in IS 456 you will not find any stiffness for any formula for calculating the stiffness of the beam. So for that we need to look at SP34 SP24 appendix D, page number 152. Under the Woods theory, they have described that how you can do the calculation for the stiffness of the beam, how you can do the calculation for the stiffness of the beam. So they have given two conditions for calculating the stiffness of the beam. First, for the braced frame, means for the no sway, Braced means what? Restrains to deformation. Means no sway condition. The beam stiffness should be calculated by 1/2 of I by L. And in unbraced condition, mean the sway case, the beam stiffness should be calculated as 1.5 multiplied by I by L. So this formula we are going to implement for doing the calculation for the stiffness of the beam. Going for the next step. Okay, so stiffness of the beam as what? 1/2, that is going to become 0.5. Now NB, number of beam, is going to be connected to that particular joint of the column. Okay, so as in our proposed case, four beams are connecting to the column. Four beams are connecting to the columns, but I am not going to consider the four beam. I am going to consider two beam. Why? In a one direction. In a one direction, major direction, minor direction, or minor direction or major direction, whatever you are going to call, because in any of the direction two beams are going to be connected with your column. So for one direction two beam, for the other direction two beams. So that's why the number of beams which is going to be connected to your column in a particular direction is going to become as 2. So stiffness as summation of the stiffness for that particular joint in a particular direction, for the non-sway. For the non-sway, the formula they have recommended with a 0.5, 1 by 2. So after doing this calculation, as we are getting the value of 4.356 into 10 raised to minus 4, and for this sway condition they have recommended to multiply it by 1.2 multiplied by 2 as 0.23, 0.5 cube divided by 12 divided by 5.5 length span of the beam. Actually in the problem definition I have forget to write the span of the beam. So actually the span of the beam, this one span having the length as 5.5 meter. The span of the beam is what? 5.5 meter. So that we are going to implement there. Let me go ahead. Okay, yeah. So we have calculated the stiffness for the column, we have calculated the stiffness for the beam. So for the case of the column, there is no role of sway and non-sway. Whether for sway, whether for non-sway, it is fine. But for the case of the beam, Woods has says that non-sway, the formula you have to implement this one, and the value we are getting 4.356, and for a sway condition the value we are getting as 1.3068 into 10 raised to minus 3. Okay, then next we are going to find out the B1 and B2. Our major main focus is towards to calculate as B1 and B2. So B1 and B2. Okay, so as of now we have not decided, as our frame is sway or non-sway, we have not decided that. So that's why I am going to do the calculation for both non-sway as well as sway. So firstly I am going to say for non-sway. So the formula B1 and B2 for major axis, summation of stiffness for the column divided by summation of stiffness of the column, and for major axis and for sway, go back, for sway frame 1 point sorry, for non-sway, firstly we are going to consider non-sway. Non-sway beam stiffness is what? 4.356 and major axis 3.273. I am going to put these all values here. Okay, major axis, non-sway, what value is there? Again I forget. Okay, for non-sway 4.356. So here 4.356 kb value and kc value. For major axis, kc value 3.273. Okay, 3.273 as you can find here. After doing this calculation we are getting the value of b beta 0.8825. Now effective length factor for the major axis as k as given in your SP24, this formula has given, okay, if you are going to implement this formula, you are getting the value of effective length factor as 0.901. Okay, and for minor axis, every minor axis kb value will be same as for the non-sway as 4.356, but kc value for the minor axis is going to be changed, as you can see here. For the minor axis 8.182, so that I am going to consider 8.182 into 10 raised to minus 4. We are getting the value as being calculated 0.6526. After putting all this value in the formula about the minor axis, we are getting the effective length factor as 0.758. So my dear friend, recall what I said, that if you are going to consider non-sway frame, after doing the calculation, or after the concluding the calculation, you will always get your effective length factor less than of 1. Every time you will get if effective length factor as less than of 1 if your frame is non-sway, and if you are going to consider the sway frame, always and always you will get the effective length factor more than of 1. Okay, now we are going to see the calculation for the sway condition. B case for the sway. Now again, major axis column stiffness will be same, 3.273 into 10 raised to minus 3, and moment stiffness for the beam 1.3068. Now at this time, for the sway case, we are considering the stiffness of the beam. Just go back and see stiffness of the beam for the sway case 1.3068 into 10 raised to minus 3. Don't do this mistake when you are going to do the calculation on your own. Okay, so after doing this calculation, we are getting the value of beta 1 and beta 2 as 0.7146, and the effective length factor for the sway case, you will find this formula in your SP24. Go to the SP24, you will get all this formula. I am not going to show that. So after doing this calculation, we are getting the effective length factor as 2.001, and about the minor axis, if you are going to correctly put all the values in this formula for the minor, as the for the sway case, stiffness for the column, again for the sway case, and for the sway case stiffness for the beam, if you are going to put you will get the value of 1.323. That's all done and fine. Okay, now moving ahead and summarizing all our calculation for your effective length factor. So here for non-sway case, okay, non-sway case, we are getting the effective length factor for the major axis as 0.901, and for minor axis 0.758, and sway frame as 2 and 1.323. Now dear friend, this is the point where finally we have to decide whether we have to go with sway frame or we have to go with a non-sway frame, and that is going to be decided by your stability index factor. Stability index factor, this factor will actually going to decide whether your column or your frame being as sway frame and non-sway frame. And after doing this calculation of Q, stability index factor, if it is coming less than of or less than or equal to 0.04, your frame is needed to consider as no sway. Means no sway, effective length factor will always be less than of 1, means there is a more chance of your column is going to become short and your design will be easy. But if your Q factor is coming out to be more than of 0.04, more than of 0.04, then you have to be considered as your column or your frame as sway frame or sway column. Then you have to consider your value will always be more than of 1, and it may turn to your column as long column, and design will be some towards the critical side, demands more section, demands more reinforcement, that's all will be there. So I want to see on what properties and what terms your q factor, determination of q factor is dependent. So your q will equal to summation of pu. What does mean by this pu? It is the sum of the actual load on all columns in that particular story. Now it is the floor property, means on that particular floor level, let me show you. This is our proposed floor. Okay, on this third floor, summation of all the actual load to all the columns, to not only this, to all the columns, that is what summation of pu. Second, what is there? Okay, here it is what? So to calculate this, it is not needed to have your lateral load. If suppose you want to do this, it doesn't depend on the lateral load, whether your structure is subjected to the lateral load or not. You can get this value in your ETABS software. Now second, displacement, elastically computed first order lateral displacement. Now to create the lateral displacement in your frame, we need to have the lateral load. If the lateral load is there, then only what? Then only you can calculate this value, and HU, total lateral force acting within the story. HU, total lateral force, again it is asking about the lateral load, so means lateral load is needed as earthquake or wind. And finally height of the story, so that you can calculate lateral load is not needed. So to calculate two properties as lateral displacement and lateral force, we need to have the lateral load. So your lateral load, your building and your proposed structure is not subjected to any lateral load, so we cannot do the calculation for this q. As of now we cannot do the calculation for the q. Now this is the big problem. As we cannot do the calculation for this q, then how you will decide your frame has no sway and non sway? And if you are not able to decide sway and non sway, you cannot use the k value. So my dear friend, it depends on you, and it depends on the importance of the structure. You have to choose either sway and non sway. If you are choosing non sway, design will be on moderate side, economical side. Okay, but if you are going to choose the sway frame, it will what? Demands more steel and more reinforcement. Why it is, I will explain that. So as of now, to go ahead, we are going to proceed with the complication as with considering the sway frame. As we are going to consider the sway frame, so we are going to finalize the effective length factor about the major axis, as 2.001, and minor axis 1.323. And actually it is the another part of discussion how you can do the calculation of q by taking the help of any primary software, for an example ETABS software. So in future we will plan a one study, one webinar along with doing the calculation of this stability index factor. So hopefully we will come with that topic in future. So okay, that is the later part of discussion. Now moving ahead, finally I have said that for the proposed structure, we are going to consider an ordinary framed system with a sway condition. What I said, ordinary frame. We are not going to do the ductile design. We are going to consider the ordinary frame with sway condition. With sway means k value as 2.001, and for minor axis 1.323. Just a minute, just a minute. Okay. So what we are talking about? Yeah. So we have decided the frame frame as a sway condition. So effective length factor as 2.001 about the major axis. Now slenderness check whether our column is long column and short column. Effective length factor being multiplied with a unsupported length as 2800 divided by overall depth of the column. So after doing this calculation we are getting what? Our ratio as less than of 12 means our column is what? Short column about major axis. Now effective length factor as k about the minor axis 1.323. So slenderness check is going to become what? 1.323 multiplied by 2800 mm divided by about width of the column is what? 300. After doing this calculation we are getting our column is what? Long column about its minor axis. Long column about its minor axis. So see, about one axis it is the shorter one. About one axis it is a shorter column, but about one axis it is going to become longer column, long column. Okay, cylinder column. So now the column is long about one axis only, that is about the width of the column. So your width is what? Insufficient, okay, to make your column as short. That's why your column is going to become long column about one axis. Now as if you are going to see IS 456 2000, let me show you. If your column is what? Long column, in that situation you have to consider the additional movement. Let me check where that is given. Yeah, see, when even in this only it may be available. Yeah, sorry, no, it is not actually given here. I forgot to add that, sorry. So see, look at this. If your column is going to become long column, then you have to calculate the additional moment. You have to calculate what? Additional moment in that. So we are going to do the calculation for additional moment. So as of now you know that our column about the major axis is short column. Okay, so no need to do the calculation of additional moment, that is what? Zero about the major axis. Now your column is going to become long column about minor axis only, so we need to do the calculation for the additional moment for that direction only. So what is the formula? Pu axial load 2747.999, width is 300 and 2000 by the formula, and multiplied by effective length. Effective length means in that direction only effective length factor we need to consider as 1.323 multiplied by 2800 divided by 300 as the width of the column. After doing this calculation we are getting the moment as 62.849 kilonewton meter. After doing this calculation we are moving ahead. Okay, now see, one important thing which will come into play, that is what? Reduction over this calculated additional movement. Reduction over this calculated additional movement. So whatever the movement you have additionally calculated due to the long column effect, the IS code has asked to apply the reduction over this movement. Why this reduction where the code has actually asking to apply? Because the code is asking to design your column on conservative side. Means whatever the moment additionally you have calculated, the code is considering that in reality that 100% movement is not going to act over your structure, over your particular column. So by taking that point into consideration, the code is asking to apply the moment reduction over this additionally moment that is given in your ISO 2000 clause number 39.7.1.1 page number 72. This is the formula has given K reduction for the moment. So PUZ minus PU divided by PUZ minus PB. Now PU we are having PUZ. How you can calculate the formula? Here it is given. Now I am going to say 2747.999 PUZ 0.45 FCK area of the concrete plus 0.75 FY area of steel. So this is the point where we have to assume the percentage of the reinforcement. So I am going to consider the percentage of reinforcement as 1.75. So many of you may raise a question, sir, why you are going to consider it as 1.75? Why not taking 0.8? Why not taking 1? Why not taking 2? Why not taking 2.5? Why not taking 4? So it's all up to you what percentage of steel you would like to consider. If you are taking 0.8, that is also what okay. If you are taking 1, that is also what okay. If you are taking 2, that is also what okay. If you are taking 3, that is also what okay. That resultant is means final output, whether your column safe unsafe for the design will going to be decided your consideration. Obviously if I am considering 1.75 on later stage, suppose the column is going to become fail, so I need to increase the percentage. If the column is going to become, if the column is going to pass the criteria, then it is what fine. So it is all depends your choice. Now PUZ 0.45 multiplied by FCK as 30 300. Based on this formula I am going to do the calculation and we are getting the value of PUZ as 3611.25 kilonewton. Now to find the value of PBX and PBY, because we need to have the PB, okay. So PU we are having, PUZ we are having, we are not having PB. And now PB about major axis, PB about minor axis. Now actually the calculation of PBX and PBY were given in your SP16, in your SP16, okay, it is given. So table number 60, PB divided by FCK B into D is equal to K1 plus K2 percentage of steel divided by FCK, okay. And for circular section this formula has given. So now we are going to do this. So basically we need to know the effective depth of the column divided by overall depth, sorry, effective cover of the column divided by overall depth. These things we need to have, okay. So that we need to do here. See, effective cover, available effective depth 600 minus clear cover for the column as 40, diameter of the shear reinforcement I am going to consider as 8, and diameter of the main reinforcement as 20 divided by 2. So we are getting effective depth as 542 and effective cover this 40 plus 8 plus half of this 20, we are getting 58. After doing this major axis d dash by overall depth, we are getting 0.1, d dash by overall width as we are getting 0.2, 0.1933 we are getting. I am going to round up this value as 0.2, I am going to round up this value as 0.1. Now to find, we are going to refer SP16 table number 60 for doing this calculation. Moving ahead, so now see, for this K1 value d dash by d, our value is what, 0.1. As you can see here, d dash by d as 0.1, go ahead, d dash by d as 0.1 for the rectangular column, for the shape as rectangular column as 0.207, and K2 value d dash by d depends on the rectangular shape plus grade of steel, so it is going to become 0.173. So for this 0.207, 0.173, d dash by d 58 divided by 600 as 0.1, So we are doing this calculation. So formula has given PBX divided by FCK B into D is equal to K1 plus K2 PT percentage of steel considered divided by FCK. After rearranging this equation, we are getting this PBX, and after putting all the values here, we are getting the value as 1172.295 kilonewton as the PBX. Likewise, D dash by B as 58 divided by 300 0.1933 as 0.2. So for this we are going to do the calculation. See here, value is what? 0.2 D dash by D. So value is what? K1 0.184 and K2 it is going to become minus 0.001. Okay, so I am going to consider these values here as K1 0.184, K2 0.001 with minus sign. Rearranging this equation for PBY, so it is going to become what? Here it is positive, so K2 is actually minus, that's why it is going to become minus. So after doing all this calculation, we are getting the value of PBY, means about the minor axis, as 993.285. That's all done. Moving ahead, finally final additional moment after applying the reduction factor, okay, sorry, final additional moment with applying reduction factor. So kx moment reduction factor along the x direction 0.3539 and minor axis as calculated as what? 0.3297. You have to put a pbx and you have to put pby. Now this value moment reduction factor you have to apply over the additional moment that we have calculated due to long column effect. Due to long column effect, we have calculated the additional moment. So about major axis, no additional moment is there. About minor axis, additional moment has calculated as 62.849. Moving ahead, okay, so about the major axis, no additional moment, that's why 0. Minor axis, additional moment is 62.849 and moment reduction factor is 0.3297. 0.3297, I am going to consider it. So finally additional moment to be considered along the minor axis as 20.721. Finally the summary of analysis results is actually available here. Finally the summary of the results, just find here major axis, minor axis direction. Analysis value 11.438, analysis value 5.304. Movement due to minimum eccentricity, okay, 70.348, 54.959. And what, from where these values are coming? Focus on this analysis. So after doing the primary analysis, let me show you here on the first page only. Okay, analysis moment is what? 11.438 to 5.3038. Eleven point four three eight 5.304. Minimum moment 70 and 54. Something is there, 70 and 54. Major and minor. See, 70 due to minimum eccentricity, 54.959. So that two values are actually there. Now we also have calculated the additional moment. So final additional moment after applying the reduction factor is what? After applying the reduction factor, it is what? 0 and 20.721. 0 after applying the reduction factor 20.721. Now you will be in confusion which movement have to choose. Which movement have to choose. Now see, in comparison of Forget about the additional movement as of now. Forget this. As of now, just focus on the basic analysis movement and minimum eccentricity movement. So here 11.438, 17.348. So amongst this analysis value and minimum moment due to eccentricity, you have to consider the maximum one. So either you have to choose this one and this one. You have to check which one is the maximum, and then you have to put in the final design moment. And in this final design moment, you have to add the additional moment, and that is going to become finally your design moments. Okay, so here 11.438, 70.348. So here final design moment, you have to choose the maximum among these two. You will say that sir, you did it wrong. Here it is written as 11.438. Actually here should be 70.348, as I am saying maximum you have to choose, but here it is the right. Why it is right? Actually, in a situation when both of the minimum eccentricity movements are coming out to be more in comparison of analysis movement, in comparison of analysis movement, you have to consider, sorry, you have to consider only one axis, only one axis. So if you are going to consider maximum along the major axis as maximum eccentricity moment, then you don't need to consider from the other direction. If you are considering maximum in this direction, then you don't need to consider from this direction. For the minimum eccentricity, you have to consider one direction only. So as of now, what I am going to do for this major axis, I am going to consider this 11.438. Why I am doing it, I will explain it. Wait. So 11.438. Now as here 5.304, it is going to become 54.959. So obviously now I am free to take this. So I am taking this 54. Right? So amongst one direction only you have to consider. You will say that sir, I will take both as maximum. Okay, that is also what okay, but your design is going to become too heavy. So that's why our code and experts are also recommending to consider one directional minimum eccentricity only. In a situation when there is a case that one direction movement, both direction minimum eccentricity is going to become higher, right? So now thereafter additional moment as 0, additional moment 20.72821. You may say that sir, why you have not taken this maximum by lifting this. So try to understand, if I am going to choose this one, so ultimately final design moment is going to become 70. What is going to come here? 70. But if I am going to, why I am taking this second direction for the minimum eccentricity by lifting this? Because here 54 and adding 20, it is going to become 75. So I am going to design on critical side. If I am choosing this one, that I can do. Some of you are doing this. That is also fine, correct. They will also be correct. They are not wrong, but they are not going to consider the critical side. I am going to consider the critical side. So if I am choosing the 70, so 70 is going to become here 70 final. 70 plus 0, it is coming at 70 something. Now here 54. So 54 I am going to take. 54 plus 20 plus something fraction is there. Okay, so it is going to become 75. So which one, who is on critical side is going to design? More dangerous side is going to be considered. I am going to consider, and you are not going to consider. If you are going to consider minimum eccentricity, this one. Hope it's clear to all of you. This is the point, my dear friend. You will be shocked. Many of the even practitioners, they are not knowing these things, how to calculate the effective length factor, and at this stage which movements have to consider. And my dear friend, as we are not knowing this, that's why we are lagging to understand what the software is going to do the design. Right? Now finally, overall study result is that axial load as design 1 2747.999, movement as MUX 11.438, movement about the MUY, it should be Y, sorry, 75.68. Now finally uniaxial movement capacity. So as per our IS code, we have to check our provided percentage as 1.75 percentage, provided size of the column as 300 by 600. Whether all these things are safe or not, we are going to find out the uniaxial movement capacity or movement resisting capacity of the section. And for that, it might be in your knowledge, actually d dash by d 58, sorry, 58 divided by 600, 0.09 it is coming. I am going to round off this value as 0.1. PT by FCK 1.75 divided by 30, 0.058. PU by FCK BD 2747999 divided by 30 into 300 into 600, it is coming out to be 0.58. Now it is what MUX by FCK. Why we are going to do this all calculation? Because we have to use the chart. Which chart? This chart we have to use. So for D dash by D, it is 0.1, and on this y axis PU by FCK BD, and on to decide which curve we have to use, PT by FCK. PT by FCK. So that we need to calculate here first, and D dash by D to choose the chart. So just come back here, see here, d dash by d 58 divided by 600, it is going to become 0.1, round off. PT by FCK 1.75 percentage of reinforcement we are going to consider as 30.058. okay. PU by FCK 2747 999 to 10 raised to 3 divided by 30, 300, 600, we are getting 0.508. okay. PT by FCK 0.508. Yeah, both are coming out to be same. So we have to calculate MUX1 by FCK BD. Just go to the next. So chart we are going to choose this one, D dash by D, and here try to understand PU by FCK BD. okay, PU by FCK BD 0.50 something is coming, so it is going to become this one. And it is what, PT by FCK. PT by FCK is what, 0.058. okay. So almost it is close to what, I am going to consider 0.5 to be on safer side. So it is in between 0.4 and 0.6, 0.04, 0.06. So it is coming in between. That's why I have taken one more chart in between, and it is 0.508. So it is going to become 0.5. Now we have to project it on x direction to find out the MU divided by FCK BD square. So we are getting the value of what, 0.06. Let me show it here. It is what value we are getting. We are getting the 0.06. So actually it is hidden due to this strip. okay. So you have to take all this value on this side in the multiplication, so you will get MUX1 value. So let me check what value it is coming. MUX1, yeah, that is what, here it is I think one not, let me show you what value it is coming. It is coming out to be 194. After doing this calculation, we are getting the value of 194. Let it to be here. Now moving ahead, for the y direction, D dash by B 58 divided by 300, 0.2 chart we have to use. That's why for the second case we are going to choose the 0.2 chart. 0.2 chart, and here again the values are 0.508, so almost 0.5. And this chart PT by FCK will also be the same, 0.2, 0.4, 0.05, 0.02, 0.04, and then 0.05. So for that we have taken a one curve here, and I am going to project this point to the x. So we are getting as what, 0.05. That's why we are going to consider here 0.05. So this all this value we have take on that side. So we are getting the final value as 81 kilonewton meter. Finally, we are going to take check whether our proposed design is safe or unsafe. So for that, we have to refer IS 456 2000 clause number 39.6 page number 71. So if you are going to put all the values here as C, actually we have to find out the alpha value. We have to find out alpha n. So for to calculate the alpha n, we need to find out the ratio of pu by puz. So pu we are having, puz we are having, that we have calculated earlier. So I am going to put all of these values. We are getting the 0.7609. Doing the interpolation, IS code has says that for 0.2 the value of alpha n is 1, for 0.8 alpha value will be 2. So for 0.2 1, 0.82, for this required value we have to do the calculation. So we are getting the value as 1.935. Okay, if we are going to put in this formula all the values, so we are getting the value of ratio as 0.88, which is less than of 1, means our design is what? Safe. Our column design is what? Safe. Under the consideration of percentage of reinforcement as 1.75 and section size of the column as 300 by 600 for the proposed project, for the proposed condition. Hope that you all understood the flexural design of your column element. Now we are going to see whether our design, how you can approach this design with your RCDC software. So if I am asking to design this many number of there are, suppose there are many number of columns are present in your project, and doing all that designs manually, it is very hectic and very time consuming. You cannot do that. So that's why we have to take the help of RCDC software or any other softwares. Okay, so if suppose you are going to take the RCDC software, so people are actually complaining about this, the result they are not getting as per their expectation. They are not getting as per their expectation. So why they are not getting their results as expectation, we are trying to understand. So actually, after doing the analysis in the primary software, you have to export the analysis results, then have to import in the RCDC software. That all we are talking in detail in our program, in our live training program. So see here what to do. Basically, after importing all the analysis results, you have to set the grade of concrete, you have to set the grade of steel, you have to set the grade of steel for the shear reinforcement, you have to set the cover, everything after you have to define. Now you have to do the setting in the RCDC software. When you go to the setting option, in the first, when you are going to click here, this dialog box will open, and under this you mainly you have to focus to edit this effective length factor. Once you click over this effective length factor, you will come to this dialog box. And my dear friend, the RCDC software is lagging to fetch correct effective length factor from your analysis report of primary software, and due to that reason only your results are not matching, or your results are not coming as per your expectation. Why? Because your effective length factor going to be considered it as what? Wrong. And you have learned just now in our manual approach what is the importance of your effective length factor for the design of your column. So my dear friend, what I did for our proposed column, I have changed the effective length factor for the third floor, for the column number 6, as about the major axis we have considered as 2, about the minor axis we have considered as 1.32, that we have calculated in our calculation. Now then here one option has given as either you would like to consider resultant movement, either you would like to consider the discrete action. So you know very well, resultant movement means movement about one axis and movement about the another axis. The software is going to find out the resultant movement. and obviously that is not our approach. So while you are practicing with the RCDC software, don't choose this first option, choose the discrete option. Discrete action means to consider the movement separately. Okay, this is also the point which is controlling the design. People are doing the mistake here, people are doing the mistake here, and the people are also doing the mistake here. Always choose one axis at a time to consider the minimum eccentricity, as I have explained in detail. Okay, if you are considering movement of eccentricity is due to uh, movement due to eccentricity for one axis, then don't consider for the other axis. If you are considering for this axis, don't consider for the other axis. So at a time you have to consider one axis. So that we also did in our calculation. If you are taking the care of these all points while doing the calculation, then you will get the results as per your expectation. Moving ahead, you have to set the definition for the percentage of reinforcement as minimum as 0.8, maximum as 4, and diameter of bars you have to choose the minimum and maximum diameter of bar. And after that you have to choose the proper load combination, as the factor load combination we need to consider. Okay, with that if you are going to see the design of the column of your proposed for your study as done by your RCDC. So if you are going to check here, so see what analysis value RCDC is going to be considered: grade of concrete 30, grade of steel 500, grade of steel for the shear reinforcement 415. Okay, now column width as 300, column overall depth as 600, column clear cover as 40, unsupported length of the column. See, we are also considering 2800, RCDC also considering 2800. Okay, fine. Okay, it is going to consider the minimum eccentricity. See, if a column type is going to be considered as unbraced, means sway. Very interesting. Column is going to be considered as unbraced. It means it is the sway. If it is going to be considered braced, means restrained. Restrained means non-sway. See, while doing our manual approach, what we did, we have considered as sway, and RCDC is also going to be considered sway. Why? Because we have defined manually the effective length factor as 2 and 1.32, which is more than of 1. Both are more than of 1. That's why it is going to be considered unbraced. Eccentricity, one axis at a time it is going to consider. Now code D by B ratio, yeah, it is less than of 4, it is going to be considered as what? Column. If it is coming out to be more than of 4, then it is going to become shear wall. So that is not the point of today's webinar. Next, okay, so here if you are going to check suppose, yeah, final movements, axial force 274 triple 47.999 we have considered. The software has considered round up value 2748. That is what correct, not wrong. Moment of inertia, moment about major axis 11.44, minor axis 5.3, and these are the shear values, right? Moving ahead, so here what it is going to calculate effective length factor about the major axis as 2, as we have defined, and it is going to see whether the column is going to become short column, long column about the major axis. So it is going to become short column, as similar to our manual approach. Now effective length factor for the minor axis 1.32. So it is getting as what? Column is cylinder about the minor axis as width. So finally additional moment has calculated by the RCDC as 62.56. And my dear friend, if you are going to check our manual calculation also, we have calculated the additional moment as 62.56. Let me show you. 62.56 RCDC is calculating, and we have calculating what? 62.849. So both are what? Okay. Even your RCDC is also doing the same approach and same calculation. Your RCDC is not wrong up to this level. Okay, now further, what is there? Okay, slenderness moment about the width, so it is going to do the calculation. Yes, all of that is going to be done. And reduction factor, where the RCDC is going to calculate as 0.33 about the minor axis, 0.33. So let me check in our calculation what we have calculated the reduction factor. Let me show you. After implementing all the codal practice, see reduction factor. See, after reduction factor about the minor axis 0.3297, if you are going to take up to 2 decimal, so you will take it as 0.33. So exactly it is matching with your RCDC design approach. Your RCDC exactly doing the same as we did in our manual. Sorry. And after doing, we are getting the additional moment as 20 point something we are getting, and here after implementing we are getting 20.36. So exactly it is matching. Now finally, movements. So see here, analysis movements are same. Minimum movements due to eccentricity, so due to eccentricity it is not going to consider about this direction because it is giving the importance to this, and that is also we are doing. So what I said, we are going to consider 54 and 11 as it is. Additional moment in this direction 0, additional moment is 20.36 after applying the reduction factor. So finally moment is going to become 1144.75. So it is what, 11.44, ignore the minus sign, and 75.32 274.48. So exactly same as we have calculated in our manual calculation. Let me show you again. In our manual calculation, final design moment what, 2747, 11.438, 75 find something. So just consider the after decimal, after fraction, after this point, consider the values for the decimal. So that is what exactly matching. Hope you are getting the RCDC is doing the right calculation, not wrong. And now finally it is what, asking to provide the percentage of reinforcement as what, 1.75, and checking the whether your section is safe or unsafe. It is also calculating the moment of resistance to the moment of capacity, as it is not coming here, but if when I am going to share the file and sheet, you will get the value as 0.8. Okay, let me short this window so you can see here. See, the value is what, 0.8, and in our calculation how much it is? In our calculation it is also what, 0.88. So exactly the results are what, matching. It is not wrong. So flexural design is 100% matching. Now looking at the shear design. Finally, for the shear design, we are going to see the axial force, shear about the major axis, shear about the minor axis. Okay, so two axis we are going to say as major because the more value we are getting, small value we are getting about the axis 3, that's why we are going to call it as minor axis. So 2747, 999, 7.26, 3.461. So how to do the calculation? Try to understand this. Tau v, nominal shear. So actually we have to do the calculation for both of the direction, major and minor, but I would like to show you along major because this is the depth, resisting depth. So in this direction we are going to consider. So and if you are going to consider, this is the depth, resisting depth for this shear value. Shear we are going to consider as lateral force. Okay, so see, under the this direction the resisting depth is this much is available. So total shear VU 7.26 into 10 raised to 3 divided by overall width as 300, and depth, effective depth we have to consider as what, 558. After doing this calculation, nominal shear we are getting 0.0434, and maximum shear resisting capacity of your concrete of M30 grade is what? 3.5. So nominal shear that you have calculated, which is less than of tau c max, hence it is what? Okay. But we have to check it with our critical capacity, that is what? Your tau c. That is what? Your critical capacity, that is your tau c, and this tau c depends on your percentage of your reinforcement. Percentage of your reinforcement. So if you are going to calculate 1.75 multiplied by 1.75%, means divide by 100 multiplied by overall section size of the column as what? Let's say what I can say, 300, and let's say overall I am going to consider as 600 overall depth of the column. After doing this calculation, you will get the value of 3150. What value you are getting? 3150. But in calculation, I am going to take half of these. I am going to take half of this. Now, my dear friend, you may ask a question, sir, why you are going to take this half percentage of reinforcement? Actually, in column, there is a presence of 1.75% of reinforcement, and we are going to consider half of that. Why? So very interesting reason behind of this is that try to understand. Actually, when you are going to consider, suppose this column is going to be the reinforcement suppose going to be present like this. Under this application of this load, shear force, okay, the deformation of your column will be what? Like this. Flexural response of the column will be what? Like this. So in that situation, suppose this is a half part, okay, so this portion on this side, this is what? Under compression, and this is what? Under tension. So half part of your column is only under the compression, and that reinforcement also taking a part of resisting the shear. This is the reinforcement which is present in tensile zone. This half part I am going to consider in the tensile zone, and this half part I am going to consider under the compression zone. So as you can see in this phase, this is a compression phase, the tensile, because extension in the height of the column is there, on the face of the column is there. So only 50% of the column which is in active mode for resisting the shear, because they are under compression, and half part of the column under the tension, so it is in a stable condition. The reinforcement present here and the concrete present in this zone, it is in a stable condition itself. So if it is already in a stable condition, why it is going to take the part of resisting the shear? That's why we are giving the importance to only 50% of the reinforcement. So when you are going to do this calculation, always keep in your mind only 50% of the reinforcement you need to consider. So percentage of steel, uh, total area I am not going to consider. I am going to consider half of that area, divided by 300, divided by effective depth. Here I am going to consider to find out what percentage I need to consider. So 0.875, or directly you can take 1.75 divided by 2. So that is also what? Correct, not wrong. Both are okay. Okay, so I am going to consider 50% of the reinforcement as for resisting the shear, and concrete is also taking a part of resisting the shear. So both in steel and concrete we are going to consider. Now permissible shear capacity of the concrete, so as the percentage we are having as 0.875, that is coming in between 0.75 and 1. So for 0.75 for M30 grade, 0.59 for 1.66, that is there. 0.875 here it is present, for that it is actually available here. So finally after doing the interpolation, linear interpolation, we are getting the value of 0.625. Done. Now this is the capacity of resistance, and this is the stress which is going to be developed due to the shear force. So if we are going to compare this, tau v is less than tau c, so our design is what? Safe. But my dear friend, if this value if this value is coming out to be more than of this tau c, in that situation we are having one more option. We are having one more option and one more shear capacity of concrete strength. Increasing the shear capacity, we are having one factor as compression factor. That is what del here, it is what shown. So it is what given in your IS code that your concrete resisting capacity you can increase by this factor. Why? Because your column is a compression member. So and it is subjected to majorly the compressive force. Take an example of heap of books. Means one books is taken one over an number of books are taken one over another, and if you are going to apply the lateral load over that book, so it is difficult to displace that book, okay, to create the instability in that heap of books. So in that situation, what it is in compression nature, it is in under the compression. The same example here it is also applicable, that you can increase the concrete strength when it is under the compression, when it is what? Under the compression. So that is what where it is given in IS code itself. It is given, as you can see, shear strength of the member under axial compression can be increased by this factor. Whatever the shear capacity you are getting, that you can increase, but it is limited to a 1.5 maximum. So I would like to check it. So after doing this, you have to put what parameter, what properties are required, what values are required. Pu 2747999 divided by gross area 300 by 600, characteristics of concrete, we are getting this value as 2.5 to 66. So we are limited to take it as 1.5 maximum. So we are going to say 1.5. So whatever the strength you are getting, which is already safe, but we are going to follow the procedure. So 1.5 multiplied by 0.625. Now finally we are getting the shear resisting capacity of your concrete along with presence of the percentage of reinforcement. It is 0.9375, which is much higher than nominal shear stress as 0.04, means our design is what? Safe. And finally you can see resisting capacity, load carrying resisting capacity of your column for the shear is what? This critical capacity multiplied by 300, effective depth 156.937 kilonewton your this section can carry for the shear, and your actual shear value is very small in comparison of its capacity. So it's all means obviously safe, no need to design for the shear. That's why we are going to provide the minimum shear reinforcement. We are going to provide the minimum shear reinforcement as were suggested by your IS 456 2026.5.1.6, as the formula has given here. ASV divided by SV, spacing of the shear reinforcement 0.4 B divided by 0.87 FY. If I am going to put all the values here, the demand of the reinforcement will become 332.53 mm square per meter span of or per meter height of your column. So this is the spacing of your lateral ties or shear reinforcement. Hope that you all understood how to do the calculation for the shear reinforcement. Now we are going to see whether RCDC is doing it right or wrong for the shear. For the flexure we have seen that it is correct. For the shear, what is this? See here, it is what? Values 7 point for major direction we have considered. You can take it you can do it for this direction on your own. Now see what is that factor load we have considered, and pu value 2735 they have considered. We have considered 2747. Design shear force value 7.26, that also we have considered. Effective depth they have considered 550, we have considered 558. The slight difference is there. Now you can correct it by alternating the clear cover to the column. What clear cover column we have defined as 40. If you are going to alternate this, you will get exact 558. Okay. Now what is the nominal shear getting? 0.044. And in our calculation what we are getting? Nominal shear 0.043. So almost same. What's the difference? Then design shear strength tau c without of compression factor 0.6221. Go back. What percentage they have considered? 0.873. What percentage we have considered? 0.87. Almost same. What is the difference? And shear resisting capacity 0.625 manually. And what RCDC has? 0.62. Almost same. What is the difference? Now compression factor they have calculated as 2.65. Calculated, okay, 2.65. What we have calculated? 2.52, almost matching, but limiting to consider 1.5. RCDC also following the same guideline of your IS 456, 1.5 maximum value. After implementing, the final capacity of the shear is what? 0.9332, and after in our calculation 0.937, almost same. Finally the conclusion is that your nominal shear is less than of critical shear, means no need to design for the shear, minimum reinforcement will be enough. That also we did in our calculation. So my dear friend, this is what overall your RCDC is also going to follow to do the calculation. It is going to do the calculation. Sorry. Okay, so it is what spacing they have calculated. They have not calculated the area. We have calculated the area. So this is what all the RCDC has calculated. 8 mm diameter of bar at a spacing of 300 mm spacing can be provided. If I am going to find out the spacing, I will also come to the same conclusion. 8 mm diameter of bar at a spacing of 300 mm center to center we are going to provide. So this is what all about today's topic which we have planned to discuss. I have concluded all the topics. So the conclusion is that the flexural design given by your RCDC software is similar to that of your manual calculation. If you are going to follow the proper guidelines of your IS code with all calculations, so you will end up with a right calculation. So your RCDC is also giving the right results, and your manual calculation also coming out to be proved with your RCDC if you are going to follow your all the guidelines as per your ISO 456, and shear design is also matching 100% if you are going to follow the IS code and right practice. So and the most important thing you have to keep in your mind that effective length factor you have to keep into control when you are going to use the STAAD RCDC software. So my dear friend, this is all about for today's planned topic of discussion. See, actually
Yeah, tell me, sir.
in a coming week we are actually going to conduct one important webinar for very important topic, most demanding topic, that is nothing but the
Which is
design
that, sir?
of analysis and design of your billboard structure for steel structure in STAAD Pro. So in coming
Okay.
days we are going to announce it officially, but for all of our audience we feel that we should announce it here. Okay, in coming weeks we are going to conduct it. Okay, so be ready for this. Don't forget to join it.